I'm a drug addict in recovery. I've been sober for almost 9 years. My name's Nicole Pludre, and I love to talk about drugs, addiction, recovery, but I also want to talk to you guys about food addiction. Because if I'm really honest, addiction to food was the first addiction that I ever experienced, long before I ever struggled with addiction to drugs and alcohol. So from a very young age, my parents, I don't think they really realized, but they were teaching me disordered eating from a very young age. My dad is Italian and my mom is Mexican. And one of their practices was if we didn't eat everything on our plate, we would have to sit at the dinner table until we cleared our plate. And that meant sometimes, because my sister was always the one who would not clean her plate, wouldn't finish all her food, that meant that we would sit at the table and sleep there if we didn't eat all of our vegetables, all of our meat, all of our pasta, whatever it was. I can remember from a young age my dad sitting at the dinner table with us and saying, "Manja, manja," eat, eat, over and over again. He would tell us no talking, just eating. Basically, if we got too chatty at the dinner table and we weren't, making progress on our meal, to shut up and eat. And so from a very young age, I was taught to shovel the food in, chew and swallow, and get it over with. And so that created a binge eater in me. I was a binge eating from a very young age, from a kid. Okay, and I can remember at a certain point, I guess my binging, and my sisters would binge as well, was starting to affect my parents in the way that we were going through food, a lot of food. There was 3 growing teenage girls. And so my dad started putting a deadbolt, a lock with a chain on the refrigerator so we couldn't access the food. So then what would happen is we would sneak food and hide it in our rooms. And so all these disordered eating patterns as a kid growing up, okay? And let me just get one thing straight too. My mom and dad are the most amazing people. I love them so much. My dad was raised like this. So he had disordered eating and he just passed it down to me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not trying to shame my parents. They did the best that they knew how, and this is the way my dad was taught. So I became a person who would starve myself. Because I started to struggle with my weight, because I was binging, I would restrict my calories to such a small amount of calories that I was eating 300 calories a day. And that was all. I would literally live off of a Diet Coke, which I think was like 130 calories, and a Snickers bar. Okay, and then I was a cheerleader. I was on the dance team. I was on the marching band. I was playing fast pitch softball. I was playing basketball. I was a point guard. Like, I was very, very active, running off of nothing. And so I would pass out. I would get sick. I would not be able to function. And so from a very young age, my eating was fucked. So as I grew up and I got older, I developed a drug addiction. I wonder why. Because I found stimulants, and I got put on a stimulant medication for weight loss at the age of 16. And when I took that stimulant medication, it really made me realize, oh wow, when I take this, it makes me not hungry and it gives me energy. I didn't have this energy because I was starving myself. And so I became a drug addict. I became addicted to stimulants at 16 and a half, 17 years old. And by the time I was 18 years old, I was purchasing methamphetamine and buying it from a drug dealer. I was a full-blown meth addict by the time I was 18 years old. By the time I was 22 and in college, I failed out of college because I was taking meth every single day, snorting it and smoking it, and not sleeping for a week at a time. Fast forward to I got sober 9 years ago, and I am going to be 42 this Friday. And last year, for the last 5 years, I have been struggling with my weight. Struggling. I am talking so depressed, so discouraged, binge eating, depression, putting myself on like wild diets where I would, try to restrict and only eat 1,200 calories, doing it for like a couple days, but then failing miserably because I would binge in the middle of the night, and then punishing myself again and starting over, and just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Well, around 2021, I was like, something's got to change. I got to start doing something different. So I started not eating out as much, like not going out to eat. And I stopped drinking like Cokes and stuff like that. And I was 247 pounds in 2021. And so from 2021 till 2023, I was able to lose about 32 pounds on my own, just from making a few small tweaks. But it was like 10 pounds a year I lost. It wasn't like a dramatic weight loss where you could really tell. It was just like I went from 247 to 217, right, in a 3-year time period. But I was still making horrible food choices. I was still eating tons of processed food, tons of candy, tons of sugar. And I couldn't figure out why I couldn't lose more weight. And so I finally broke down and went to the doctor and found out that I got the betas. I'm a diabetic. I turned myself into a diabetic with all this disordered eating. And so when I got diagnosed with diabetes, I was so scared. You can ask my husband. He's sitting right here beside me. I was crying my eyes out. I thought I was going to die. My grandfather died because of complications of diabetes, because he could not and would not stop eating pasta. He was Italian, every single day. Okay, so he died from diabetes. And so it scared me. It scared the living daylights out of me. My blood sugar was 499 and 275. Those are the two readings I got before I got diagnosed with diabetes. And so I got diagnosed with diabetes, and the doctor called me in Ozempic. I started taking Ozempic. When I tell you guys, I started taking Ozempic in December, like in the middle of December. And from December till now, it's March, I went from 217 pounds down to 191 pounds. And I'm going to go down to 160. That's my goal weight. It totally changed my life. Getting on this medication has made me not think about food all the time. I went from my mind being completely consumed with thoughts of eating all day long to being able to have a regular portion of food. And then if I'm full, putting the rest away. That was unheard of. I used to be able to sit down and eat the meal of 3 grown men. I used to be able to out-eat my husband times 2. Okay? I used to get warm, fuzzy feelings when I would eat Chinese buffet because it was giving me a high. Okay? That's how much food I can put away. Like 5 grown men, really. And so I went from eating like 5 grown men to being able to have half of a turkey sandwich with a third of a bag of a couple of chips, like 7 chips for lunch. I went from having 3 bowls of broccoli cheddar soup to be able to have half a cup of broccoli cheddar soup. When I tell you guys, I can eat in moderation now, and it's all because of Ozempic, aka semaglutide. It has literally saved and helped change my life. And so I just wanted to share a little bit about all this with you guys, because addiction to drugs and addiction to food are the same thing. It's addiction. It's addiction. And food causes those same reward responses in the brain as substances do. So if you're somebody who struggles with food addiction and you need support and help, give me a follow, honey. I'm a recovering drug addict and a recovering food addict. And I have mastered staying sober from drugs. And now I'm mastering getting sober from food and eating healthy. And now, like I said, I eat healthy. I eat meats and vegetables. I drink plenty of water. And every now and then, when I get a sweet tooth, I'll have my husband get me some gummy candies. But even those, I have learned how to eat in moderation. And if I feel myself slipping, I will hand my husband the bag and say, put these away on your side so that way I can't get to them, because I need to stop. And I'm learning, and I'm doing better and better each and every day. So give me a follow. It's worth it.